Yeah, you just peel it off and put it.
Oh, you've got to put it inside you.
Yeah, I didn't have till about 10 minutes ago. Does it?
That could be a bit interesting. I wouldn't know you're supposed to get it in there.
Well, councillors, I can bring us all to order. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good Chair. And welcome to this meeting of the Town Council's Leisure Services meeting being held on Tuesday, the 7th of November. Just some housekeeping, of course. All the Town Council meetings are now recorded. The recording is being live and stored on the Town Council's YouTube channel. So by virtue of attending this meeting, you consent to having your image and audio recorded for this purpose. If you do not wish for this image and audio to be recorded, then please do not stay in this meeting. Those in attendance do not expect the fire drill this evening. If you hear the fire alarm, please head to the nearest fire exit and congregate at the fire assembly point by the open centre at the front of Woodford Park. So that is the house rules for this evening. So, as I say, welcome everybody. Thanks for coming out on a rather cold and dark evening. So it was felt cold and dark to me. So I will take item 1 on the agenda, which is to receive apologies.
Yes, we've had apologies from councillors Charles Bay, Gilder and Lewis.
They can be recorded, that will be lovely. I'll then take item 2 on the agenda, which is declarations of interest. Does anyone have any declarations, Carol?
Yes, item 10 is the allotments working group. I'm an allotment tenant, so I won't take part in any discussion.
All right, thank you for declaring that. Then I will move on to item 3, which is to approve the minutes of the last meeting held on the 5th of September. And these minutes have been provided at the full council agenda meeting on the 26th of September. Okay, I would second that. All those in favour of approving those minutes? Very much. Good call that they are approved, and I will sign off the meeting. Thank you very much. Then take item 4 on the agenda, which are it's recorded on page 5 actually, which are actions and follow-ups. Thank you.
Yes, this is a new item that's been brought for council. One of the other committees suggested that this was brought to council meetings. The intention is within the minutes, we will try and now record any actions that come from those minutes in these documents, and at the next meeting we'll provide a progress update. We will obviously in the agenda where they're completed, you will see that they're completed, and then they will drop off at the next meeting. But anything that might need to stay on for a number of meetings will just remain on there until such time as the item is being completed. Hopefully this will enable us to kind of catch up on any actions and follow-ups. So hopefully you've noted all of the progress updates from here. The only item we didn't have a progress update on at the time was minute 18 from the 5th of September meeting, when it was suggested that Councillor Hawkins speaks to Councillor Soane with regard to replacing him as a representative of the Friends of Woodford Park group. That has now taken place. Councillor Hawkins has had a conversation with Councillor Soane, who's agreed to stand down and be replaced hopefully by Councillor Hawkins. The process for that is the resignation will be noted at full council in December, at which point nominations will be requested.
Okay.
So at that point, obviously, if Councillor Hawkins wants to be put forward, he can, but it will be open to any other group and any other members to do that as well. Okay, we'll have a vote.
Thank you very much. Right. Good news. Any other comments from the follow-ups? Okay, in that case, I will then go on to the next item, which is item 6, which is budgetary control under page 7. Thank you.
So yeah, we're into month 7, so we should be looking at a little over 58% on this point in the year. So under expenditure, you'll see that there are some items there to do with supplies and equipment which are over. That's largely to do with seasonal groundworks where items see fertilizers, etc. bought at a certain point in the year. We wouldn't be expecting any significant expenditure through the rest of the year. A lot of repairs, that work is relation to repairs and realignment of water butts. And again, there's we would be anticipating any other further significant costs in the year. So that looks like. In terms of income, and slightly less straightforward, although very much the right way around, income is very strong across centre income streams and significantly over anticipated budget. There's a couple of reasons for that, partly due to strong uptake and business being strong, partly due to the VAT changes and what that has meant in real terms for income at the centre. That will become clearer as we move towards year end and will enable this committee and the council to take that into consideration in setting fees and charges for next year in the context of the changes that happened with VAT on leisure services. So there's those figures are a little unusual in this year because of that change. So as I said, at year end and going into budget setting for next year, certainly we'll have a better idea about that, and that may have an impact on things we wish to do in terms of fees and charges.
Councillors, any questions on the budget? Yes, Mike.
Yeah, just maybe a bit of clarification on that. Kevin, when you were referring to the VAT, and I think this might be to do with, obviously went on the income, but I'm wondering about expenditure when it does seem to be a very high budget. The actual amounts are quite a bit lower. I just wondered, were they set too high? And did that have something to do with the VAT on it, or partly? I don't think all of it did.
Not on expenditure, no. Which one?
Well, it's all of them really, you know, all that page on page 7.
So most of those are not a million miles off what we might expect at month 7 with 58%.
The only one I was going to query actually was coronation.
60, on expenditure.
Yes,
Coronation.
40%. So
Yeah, possibly.
wasn't sure if that.
Yeah, I
was-
mean, yeah, I think maybe something to look at the end of the year, end of the cycle, because it's my first time.
Yeah.
So I don't know the background to a lot of this stuff, but.
Some of those, it's always a difficult one because we make a bit of judgment on
Yeah.
what we think may not happen. As there might be some work, some of the work's planned for there that aren't included on there, but okay.
Yeah, it's always nice to have an underspend, but you know, I think on the time.
Yeah,
It's something. Not quite right, yeah.
I mean, this will be the first time I'll have worked through this budget for leisure services as chair, so it'll be interesting to see where we land at the end. Because previous years, years, I've seen underspending on expenditure by amounts that didn't seem right to me by the time we got to the end of the year. But I think things have improved since then, or I expect them to. So
Yeah, some of the things within some of those as well, because they're all lumped together, expenses, got energy costs and things like that in there
Yeah.
as well. So some of those will increase more over the winter periods, some of it's seasonal. So it's,
Yeah, okay, that would explain the higher.
it's hard to, yeah, at this point in the year, it's hard to gauge some of it.
Yeah, sure, thanks.
any other questions? We will move on to the next agenda item, which is to receive a report for the Woodford Park Leisure Centre Sport Development and Activities. Ed.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. So with the gym, we welcomed a total of 56 new members through the period 23rd of August to 31st of October. There's a little breakdown there in terms of how many of those are ongoing short term, and we had a prize winner as well, with the Carnival claimed their prize. Through that same period of time, we lost 48 members. They cancelled their memberships, and you can see there in the graph kind of the reasons they gave as to why they cancelled their memberships. Again, pretty consistent. We had a lot more injury and medical this time around for some reason. Again, just to clarify, that's not through going to the gym, that's outside of the gym, and they've had to suspend or cancel for various reasons. I always highlight the reasons people have said they've moved to the other gyms, because I think that's the most relevant. This time around, we had 3 people who gave that reason, and they were for a swimming pool, a work kind of scheme where they got the gym included within their work, and also because somebody had a friend at another gym. So those are the 3 reasons people left us. There's a table there showing income, which is pretty much as I'd expect it to be at this time of year, relatively consistent with no major ups or downs. Obviously, when we get to January, that's when we expect a significant change. On the next page, you'll notice a little bit of information about the gym refurbishment. So the lease for the current gym equipment ends later this year, and the new equipment is due to be installed on the 21st of December. Now, rather than just have a straight swap and get rid of the old and put in the new, we're going to use the week prior to Christmas to basically do some refurbishment work in the gym as well. It's coming up 7 years old now, so could do with a bit of redecoration, just some general TLC really. I've noted down there some of the work that we're looking to do. I'm cautious that we've got a small window pre-Christmas where maintenance teams are going to be busy anyway, ahead probably time off. In particular, two of the pieces of work that we want doing are the floor tiles in the free weights area, which are just a little bit worn now, and repairs to two mirrors that have cracked where basically weights rolled into them over the years, and they're just a little bit scruffy at the moment. So hopefully during that kind of 3-4 day period, all of that work will be completed and we'll have a nice new gym ready for Christmas. In terms of how that will impact members, we're going to close for that period of time. Traditionally, it is one of the quietest weeks of the year for the gym, as people, it's actually a school holiday week as well. So there'll be less people coming to the gym because they'll have to take care of childcare. And at the same time, Christmas shopping and other things to do in that week. It's traditionally very, very quiet at the centre. So it should work perfectly. And we're hopeful that the gym will reopen on the 27th of December. Now, if the work is quicker than we anticipated being, we will have kind of like a soft opening prior to Christmas just to get some of the regulars in so they can try out the new kit and give us any feedback on how it might differ from the old kit. Because I'm cautious there will be some differences in the design of the kit. And it might just be useful to know that before we open.
Definitely, you've got different manufacturers with you with your kit. And
well, we've tried to keep it as similar as possible,
Yeah.
because we've never had any complaints about it. And there are some new bits going in as well, just some kind of supplementary bits, just to keep it fresh. But ultimately, I'd like some feedback on it before we open properly in January, and then potentially get surprised by something. So, kind of linking to Christmas, the leisure centre will be closed for some kind of block and then another block over that period of time. So we're going to close on Saturday, the 23rd of December, and we're going to reopen on the Wednesday after Christmas, which is the 27th, the day after Boxing Day. It'll be open for 3 days in between, so the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, which is the 27th, 28th, 29th of December, and then close again for the weekend and then New Year's Day, with a full opening again on Tuesday, the 2nd of January. That's pretty normal for us now, works quite well. Again, the period in between Christmas is very, very quiet. Most of our regular hirers don't book their normal slots, and again, gym members tend to have that kind of period off and come back strong in January. So, but the 3 days is useful for us because we can use it to sign up new members and just get a bit of deep cleaning done over Christmas, things like that. So it is useful for us to have some period of time open over that break. Family racket attack. So I always put this in here. We ran it again over October half term. 157 individual transactions were recorded, which again is quite positive. That's proving to be a really popular scheme actually, and people almost kind of fight now over the slots. It's kind of getting a bit competitive in terms of times and the particular popular times that people want, but that's a good thing. There's a breakdown there again: badminton, table tennis, and tennis, as you'd expect. No tennis in the winter, so nobody wanted to play, but we had a bit of table tennis this time, which is nice because it tends to be mostly badminton. 3G pitch repairs. I do have a little bit more of an update on this as well, but there are 2 areas of the pitch, both penalty spots, which isn't surprising, where now there's been tears in the pitch. It's the first major tears we've had in the pitch since it was installed 7 and a bit years ago, which is really good. That the 2 repairs we've been able to lump together in one job for £595. That's taking place on Thursday this week. So what they're going to do is cut out a metre square around the tear, relay it, stitch it back in, both penalty spots, and that should be that. I've always been very cautious and delay repairs as much as I can, because I know that as soon as you start making the repairs, the stitching becomes weaker, and there's more potential for more damage in the future. But this was always going to happen at some point. The damage wasn't malicious in any way. It is wear and tear. It's where basically right-footed players plant their feet before striking the ball for a penalty. So it's kind of impacted in the same way every day and has been for pretty much the last 7 years. So
We should only allow left-handers to.
well, there you go. Yeah, can't facing everyone the other way. So that's taking place this Thursday. The pitch will look a little bit strange for a while with that work, because it's going to be completely new turf going on top of new turf. So there'll almost be a square patch I did ask how long it would take to kind of bed in, that could be anywhere up to a year, so it will look a bit strange. I have warned our clubs and that's going to be taking place in case they think something, on top of that, the actual equipment is now showing signs of wear and tear as well. I only really note this because it's not cheap, and if we ever do want to replace it, we're looking at a significant amount of money to do so. Where the goals have wheels on them and levers, and you have to kind of raise them before rolling them onto the pitch and then lowering them back down. Those levers are now rusty, have been repaired multiple times by our maintenance team. They have worked out how to repair them now so that they don't need repairing again. But that is a longer job, and they obviously stretch their time anyway. So when they get half an hour, they tend to do one wheel, then they'll come back another day and do another wheel. But quite often now we're finding wheels on the pitch after a long evening. I do think at some point in the future we will have to repair the goals if we do want to keep up the quality. But we're kind of doing what we can. Even the clips that repair the net going across the pitch, which are little metal clips that we've just got a new batch of. We replace those every 6 months, but they come in at £3 a clip. So we just bought a box for £300, which will do the nets, but they'll probably be rusty and worn out by next kind of April. So it's not going to be a cheap kind of cost ongoing. Children's parties. So I mentioned in the last meeting that we were having to make some changes to the way we ran children's parties, particularly the format. That kind of came into effect at the end of September. And we're still kind of feeling out how it all works, but ultimately I thought the best way to kind of compare how it's been going to what was previously happening was to use our party feedback. And as you can see there, it's relatively consistent and positive. Ultimately, we probably won't be able to compare this accurately until a whole year has gone by when we've got more data, because at the moment this data is taken from I think around 10 or 15 parties compared to the previous one, which is around 150. So exactly, yeah. But I thought it was useful to put it in there now anyway. So between the 1st of September and the 31st of December, we've so far had 56 children's parties booked under the new format, which is really good. I think there's been a few more actually since I counted that number. And at the same period last time, we actually had more, which was 68. But please do bear in mind that that was from the 1st of September, and we only started taking bookings from the end of September for this new format. So it's probably about the same, actually. I don't know if anybody saw it, but we put together a promotional video. It's been put on Facebook, it's the website now as well. Really, really good. Matt did it. All in-house, and it was great, to be honest. If you haven't seen it, go and watch it, because it is really, really good. It's probably the best bit of marketing we've ever done. So yeah, and it was well received on Facebook. So.
Play it for you at the end of the meeting if you haven't seen it. Do you want to see it? That'd be lovely. Thank you.
Well, I was going to ask that very question. There is many references to the council's YouTube channel as being a technophobe. Can someone explain to me how you access the council's YouTube channel?
If you go to youtube.com and type in Woodley Town Council, you'll get to our page, and that is where all these meetings are streamed, and you can see our footage of meetings from there, and also some of our videos from Community Heroes Awards and things from the past are published on there as well. So it's a good place for us to put any videos that we have, but we can then embed those videos in websites or in social media for people to see as well.
And can I just follow on, Chairman, to ask Ed, congratulations on the continuing success of the gym. I just wondered with the, could an opportunity be taken, given that we're refurbishing the gym and we've got new equipment going in, to perhaps do another video of the new equipment in the gym to promote it and maybe encourage new members to join?
Yeah, it's definitely something we've discussed. I think it'd be really good, particularly because during that time it'd be quite quiet. So we can get some good shots. I'll probably have to beg Matt again to come over and film
He'll be
those.
using the equipment, will he?
Yeah.
I have membership. I'm expecting you to meet me there on the 27th to test out the new kit.
So yeah, we have kind of broken some volunteers, but I think that's a good idea.
If I can just chip in something slightly, I don't know if Matt won't want to say much about it, but actually we have got some in-house expertise. through that, which is really helping us to do some of these things. And we've got some a number of areas that I think the council will benefit from having that without spending what otherwise would be quite a lot.
Let's do it. Yes, Danny.
Thank you, Chair. Just a comment on the video. It's really good and good effort. So it's 56-second video. I watched it on the YouTube, and obviously social media does make a huge impact because I was looking and I do follow our channel. Looking at the actual website, I saw the new equipment click option. But when you do that, you download the PDF on your site. Is it possible to actually have a image gallery option on the website to actually click next to it rather than download a PDF, because it doesn't say download a PDF, click to view it. So just wondering, just a suggestion on that.
Yeah, it's very timely. We are currently looking at a redesign of the website.
Right, yeah.
And we have some more functionality we can use in it at the moment that, again, I'm taking on board. And image galleries are possible in a better format than we've had in the past because of the new functionality. So there's a complete redesign. I'll take that on board and make sure that wherever we have those sort of images, they will be embedded into the website as opposed to a downloadable link, because it'll make it easier to watch.
Yeah, thank you.
For some people to access it as well, or just wait forever and download it.
Yeah, what we're doing makes everything on the
Yeah.
website look so much easier. So yeah.
That's awesome.
Thank you, Jen. Ed, I don't do football. So penalty point, this is your green bit of grass, penalty point's here, yeah? And that's the goal.
Yep.
Yeah, and this is the bit that's worn,
Mhm.
and you said they're gonna cut out a piece like that.
Yep.
And it's gonna be new and shiny.
Mhm.
Can't you cut out this bit here?
It was
Move
not,
it over.
it was an option, genuinely was an option, but what they basically said was you're then replacing two parts of the pitch rather than one.
So they're gonna charge you more than £595.
So that would have made it look more similar,
Yeah.
but it also would have worn quicker as well. But yeah, you're right, in the corner bits are actually the least worn areas for obvious reasons. And yeah, we did have that option. But yeah, I think it's basically as soon as you start cutting into it, this is something that's going to happen. But yeah, originally it was supposed to be a 10-year life expectancy for the pitch.
Just 7,
And we're at 7, and this is the first big piece of work that's been done. Yeah, I mean, it had a year off for COVID.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I would say. We do put money into it on a regular basis, which a lot of places don't do. We put down 5 or 6 tons of rubber crumb ourselves every year, not including the regulars that the service contractor does. And there are lots of other things you can have done to the pitch. The different pieces of work, for example, churn up the crumb that's been padded down over the years and bits that make the fibres stand up properly, but then you're looking into the thousands and thousands. And when I asked kind of the very obvious question, would that work expand the life expectancy of the pitch? Because then technically you could push the replacement a bit further down the line.
Yeah.
They basically said, no, they're designed so that you can keep it going for 10 years. So this stuff we could have already had done, and we've been lucky enough to not have it done yet. Yeah, but when we get to a point where our report starts to look back, because we get it's every 3 months I get a report through.
Yeah,
It's very
okay.
boring, but ultimately it tells you
what the
how
conditions
to
are
do
like.
it.
Yeah.
when it starts to get to a point where it's not good, I'll start to bring it to this committee and say, look, do you want to do this work?
Do they offer sort of like different grades of replacement pitch? So we went for like a standard grade, but actually we went for I don't know, it's like roofing, isn't it? You can get a 10-year guarantee or a 15-year
Go for
guarantee.
enactment stuff.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. I've
You don't
not
think
been
so?
offered it yet.
All right,
I'm sure
okay,
they
so
would if it was
thought,
available.
yeah.
No, it just seems to be standard. But yeah, there's loads of different things you can have done to it, and each of them are slightly different. And of course, they recommend all of them, which comes to about £10,000 a year. So far, I've put off doing any of them, and we do most of it in-house ourselves. But yeah, this is the first time where we are not trained to do this. Yeah.
Can I just chip in for information for members of mine? I know that the council does have an earmarked reserve, which it puts money into every year since the pitch was built, which was a condition of the funding. So that when we do get to 10-year period, we've got the money to replace that.
Excellent, read my mind. How much is that going to cost, basically?
Yeah, so we've been putting 12,000 a year in. So
It's a bit of money.
So £100,000, yeah. That's
Yeah,
I think it was, originally it was, when we first had it installed, they told us it was going to cost 100,000.
Yeah.
But that was 7
That
years
was
ago.
7 years ago.
The last
yeah.
time I asked, we were probably looking at about 150. I think it'd be more.
Okay, anything else to report on item 6, Ed? No? Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ed. Thank you. Okay, I'll then move on to item 7, which is parks and buildings. Okay.
Can I just note, councillor Lewis has joined us electronically, virtually, so you can't see him, but he can hear us. Thank you. Parks and buildings, so you know, the sports hall heating works, leisure centre scheduled for February, following a tendering process. Contractor has been appointed, then the work is scheduled to take place. Timing of that has been to limit impact on activities in the hall through discussion with Ed about the best time to do that. We'll also be doing some painting of the lower half of the blocked level of the sports hall walls in January, which we needed a refresh, so that'll be happening just after Christmas. As already mentioned about the new gym equipment for installation from the 21st of December. As I said, we'll take the opportunity to do some repairs and minor refurbishment work in there during that time. Tree works, various works across Woodford Park have been carried out. This is following the guidance from the tree survey that we had carried out last year, which itemised a number of urgent and non-urgent works. All the urgent ones were dealt with very quickly. In that first stage, we're now it's more of a housekeeping and keeping on top of things from that side of things. There's still some more work to do over the coming weeks. We're just waiting for a date for some of the work down near the yard. There's very large poplars there, which are not in great shape and too close to the building. So that's one of the items that have been flagged up on there. Recruitment of a maintenance officer for the amenities team, that is ongoing at the moment. We are doing a second run at that, having not got a suitable person in the first run. We did interview someone, just didn't find quite what we were looking for, so we're going out again. Town centre garden, the water supply has finally been installed after 2 years.
Is there a padlock on it yet? Because it was open when I was fiddling with it last week.
Check. But yes, that has taken some time. It's been frustrating, so I'm very glad to have that in place. Malone Park, new safety surfacing has been going in last week and this week. That work's ongoing, slightly hampered by the weather there, which has also meant some damage to the grass in getting the equipment in there. So the amenities team have addressed that, reseeded. It will come back. It just looks a bit churned up at the moment, which was unfortunate but unavoidable. The amenities team have taken the opportunity as well to repaint the play equipment and also refurbish elements of it. So all the timber work's been replaced, and just to refresh that and get it as good as it can be. Moving on to allotments, we currently have a waiting list of around 51 tenants. That's going to change very soon as the rent letters go out this month. We get a lot of people give them up because they don't want them anymore, and that's when we get our kind of major turnover. So that will be happening. I think next week we're looking to get the rent letters out. Water tanks up there, as I mentioned earlier on. There's around 90 tanks up there which have already been done. There's so many tanks. That was a massive site. If councillors haven't been up there, it's worth going to have a look. It's huge. So the team have been re-levelling those with quite a few that weren't on any kind of concrete base or slabs or anything, and over time have tipped to leaking and all those sort of things. So that's quite a bit of work. They can get those all better, and obviously we can some water up there as well. The allotments task and finish working group met on the 23rd of October to consider tenancy agreement changes. There's a report on that. It's on the agenda. Chapel Hall, we have a new boiler, hot water boiler installed, kind of domestic style boiler, cabinet there for the kitchen and heating. The old one had failed, and was considered to be beyond repair actually on inspection. There was a crack in a crucial part of it, which it required a new one, so that was done very quickly. Coronation Hall, the team have replaced a number of emergency lights in there. Bowls Club, the seasonal renovations to the green are being carried out in preparation for next season. And to note there are 3 gatherings of remembrance this year due to the way that the dates fall. So this coming weekend we have a schools event on Friday, which we're expecting a lot of kids. We're looking at probably 500 or so children coming over for that, which is absolutely fantastic. That happens on the Friday, so obviously the kids aren't going to be able to come on a weekend day. So and the local schools will take part in our remembrance event, and they're very keen to. Lady Jackie Andrews has organised that, and they've brought the schools have carried out a lot of projects, and they've got some wonderful display things which we'll have out for the whole of the weekend for the various events, which are really good. So that's a school event on the Friday. On Saturday is a town council event, which is Armistice Day, which is the one that the council has always run. And on Sunday is the community-led event, Remembrance Sunday, which is the second year that that's happened. The council lending support to all 3 of those events, which is Saturdays are one, but actually we facilitate the other ones as well and do what we can to have those work. So we think that's going to be a really good one this year. That's it.
Thank you very much, Kevin. Councillors, any questions? Carol?
Yes, I've got a few. Under the tree works, the large poplars, what's happening to them? Is it just tidying them up, or is it taking them down?
They'll need to come down.
Okay.
We had, they're very similar to the ones that used to be along the perimeter by St Dominic
Yes,
School, exactly
yes.
the same issue.
Yes,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, when we took down the large poplars down there, there was a lot of stumps left over. I've got one of them in my garden next to the pond. But there is an opportunity, if there are some wilder areas in Woodford Park, to have a stumpery. And I'd wonder if that could be considered, rather than having to get rid of those stumps, is to find an area where they can create a stumpery.
Insects love them, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that will be, I think, part of our sort of blue flag bit as well for the park.
We do that, but I'll make sure that.
Okay, because I think last time there was talk of it, but it didn't happen. But this time it would be good. The suitable candidates, was that because of just what was available at the time, or have we not quite got our what we're asking for right?
Yeah, we obviously reviewed that. I think initially it didn't help. It was summer holidays, and the festival probably didn't help. So we have pushed it possibly a little harder this time as well, and just see what happens. The role itself was reviewed not all that long ago, including the salary. It's quite a big ask. We want someone experienced, so if we don't get it, then we'll need to review it.
Okay. And the final question is: there's a new bin to be installed at Malone Park. Is it going to be a recycling bin?
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other councillors, any other questions? Okay, in that case, I'll move on to item 8, which is the Community Youth Partnership. To note that obviously Sam Milligan, just around the corner, has joined the partnership as the voluntary sector representative. There's not a lot fully up to what's written with here, but hopefully more people will join it. And also to note, of course, in item D on page 13, from the meeting that was held on the 19th of September. I wasn't in attendance at that meeting. Were there any councillors on this here today? I've got anything like to say. Yes,
I was at the meeting. I'm a bit lost now as to which. We've had a couple of meetings since the last one. So this wasn't the working.
No,
this was the youth services. Yeah. There was a lot of discussion and the various representatives of the youth services shared their views and the work that they've been doing. But we felt that we needed more information in order to progress, and actually sort of set up something workable. So we formed a working group now, a task and finish working group to get more information and to actually move things forward. So that's where we're at.
Thank you, Paul. Does anyone have any other questions? Good, thank you very much. Okay, I will then move on to item 9, which is the Youth Support Services Working Group. To note, obviously, that Roland was appointed our Labour representative.
Yes.
Very much. So their report on page 17, which was the minutes of our working meeting held on the 3rd of October. No recommendations from that at this time, but does anyone have any questions they'd like to ask? Carol?
Yes, on appendix A, page 20 and 21, it talks about terms of operation action, targeted completion date, all of which we've gone past. I wondered if there's been any action or completed action, please.
So I can probably update on that. We have another youth support services working group due to be on the 15th of November, so that's set at which there will be updates on all of those. I can say, I'll bring up the details. We have made progress on the majority of those already in line with those targeted completion dates. So if you just give me...
Mike, can I just ask, sorry, did the meeting go ahead on the 1st of November?
So yes, so that's one of these here. So I'll cover that in a second.
I wasn't able to be at that.
No. So in terms of the which is basically contact youth service team at Woking Borough Council, meeting took place on the 1st of November, and a report of that meeting will go to that youth services working group. That was an exceptionally successful meeting, according to the councillors who were involved, and the key outcome from that, from the 2 youth service workers from Woking, was that they strongly recommended that there was a need for a venue for operating youth work from in the area. There will be more details in the working group to consider that. To compile a list of organisations currently supplying youth support, that's Operation B. A list was circulated to both the Youth Support Services Working Group and the Community Youth Partnership on the 5th of October for comments and additions. So we do have a list of organisations, and that again, the list as it stands will be presented at the next meeting. C and D, which is to engage and communicate with young people and to engage an organisation to carry out a youth survey. We wrote to a number of organisations, as listed in here, asking if they would be willing to assist the council take a survey or knew of an organisation that would. We've had a response from 2 organisations. One of them, ARC, their representative is going to meet with the youth services working group on the 15th of November to put forward a proposal for the working group to consider, and the other organisation, Berkshire Youth, had suggested that they would be interested in discussing it with us, having said they would be interested. Kevin is currently trying to contact, so again, hopefully that youth services group will have some more information on that. Under E, which is to send a short survey out to councillors, that took place. Responses requested by the 18th of October, and I have responses from 3 councillors, councillors Kennedy, Jordan and Rowland. So that has now been completed, and the item F, which leads on for that, which is to compile a list of possible youth support service options as raised by members and that have been raised previously. I have created an initial list, and that will be presented at the next meeting. So really, that was all of the actions that were suggested from the last meeting have basically been completed. The only one that's outstanding at the moment is whether there's a meeting with Berkshire Youth. So yeah, I think there's been some considerable progress since the last meeting.
Yeah. Well done, thank you. Thanks for that, task and finish. Okay, does anybody else have any other questions on item 9? Okay, in that case, I should go on to item 10 then, which is the allotments working group, and to note the report on page 22. Matthew, any comments? Robert,
Yes, thank you, Chair. Yeah, we had this meeting online, and Mike was on the committee along with Alison and a couple of other people, and we had Sarah Jackson Lane, one of the allotment holders. She was there and helped us out with some of the points. And we went through the tenancy agreement, and hopefully we've all had a copy of it with the differences in printed in red. And the main thing that we've agreed was that we would stop bonfires on the site from January 2025 to be a bit more environmentally friendly and also appease some of the residents in that area who have previously complained about smoke drifting over. It was intended that we'd allow them after 4 p.m. in the autumn and winter months, but we then agreed that it would stop altogether from January 25. So there we are. Anyone got any?
Can I just comment on that? As Rob said, that is also one of the actions in the climate emergency home action plan.
It makes sense actually, because, you know, back in the day, everyone did things, but these days they recycle them, they spread them back on the garden.
It does give us an opportunity as well, which I think is important, so it doesn't kick in for a year, to get some information out to tenants, which we'll be doing.
Educate, was it? Yes,
So we'll be doing that now when the red letters go out. We'll be doing that in partnership with the tenants committee as well through the year, just so that we can get information to tenants about alternatives and the reasoning behind it. So we've got a lead into that. Change.
Well, I did have a quick read through it, and it looks as though a thorough job was done.
Yeah, thank you. And I thought it was a good session, really. We worked well. Yeah.
Good, thank you.
Thank you to those people that took part.
No, and thanks to those people that started that and get recorded. And then lastly, to approve the amended allotment tenancy agreement as set out in the report. Can I ask for a proposer, please?
I would like to propose.
There be a seconder amongst us. And where's in favour of accepting those changes? Those against? Those abstaining?
I think I need to abstain.
You need to abstain, Carol, yes. Great, thank you very much. We will then go on to item 11, which is to consider a report on Weevil Park.
Thank you. Thank you. So firstly, just to note, I did receive some questions from Councillor Charles Bay shortly before the meeting, with some operational questions, mostly around this. What I'll do, I'll respond to those and circulate to all members on this committee so that you've all got the same information, if that's helpful. Reason for this report, this follows some inquiries and suggestions. Councillor Charles Bay particularly, I know, had raised this as a potential project to improve the facilities at Weevil Park. And the park is managed by the Town Council on a long-term lease with Reading Borough Council, which runs to 2031. And during the discussions previously at Leisure Services, and it did come up in the discussion at the last Strategy and Resources meeting, it was commented that the Town Council might seek to take ownership of the site, or at least make some inquiries with Reading Borough Council about whether that was possible before committing to any actual expenditure on the park. So that said, the Town Council did install equipment on the site back in 2006 when it was under this lease agreement. That was funded by Section 106 and some lottery grant monies at the time, and the council did do some consultation with residents in the area to find out what they wanted to see there, and there was some very old equipment in there previously, which was removed as part of that project. So members are asked here whether to consider whether they might wish to pursue a request for transfer of ownership to the Town Council. No inquiries that have been made in that regard at the moment, so that could be a first step to see if that's something that is up for future conversation. And also whether the council wishes to look further at this stage into providing or upgrading the equipment at the site. It is not it's not unsafe, but it's a limited play value. There's a multi-play unit there, very old. There is a small ball wall with a basketball hoop and a goal underneath, which is fine and functional. That's in better condition, but the actual multi-play unit is pretty limited play value, to be honest. There's a couple of things there. One about the ownership, whether committee wish to explore that any further. It could be that we have to do some consultation in the first instance with residents and see what people might.
Fine. Sure. Unequivocally, yes, make representations to Reading. I would strongly suggest that we approach Reading Borough Council and set out how much the town council has spent on the facilities there, which would include, operating costs, maintenance costs, etc., the improvements that we've undertaken. And I would look to Reading to gift this play area to the town council for £1. And don't look at me as if I'm stupid, because I know for a fact that many principal authorities have sold assets to their parish or town councils, including big projects like town halls for £1. So that's what I would suggest. The fact that we are paying £206 a year for Reading is neither here nor there. So they could easily give this to us for £1.
Any other comments from the other councillors?
Yeah, just follow on from, I agree with what Mike said there. I think certainly Reading have got a history of not really wanting to be involved in these sort of things because it's outside their core area. So they're probably going to be up for something like that. Certainly during my time at Early, they were quite happy to do things like that. So it's certainly worthwhile exploring that. Yeah.
I mean, when Kevin told me, I sort of thought, well, maybe we need to do this concurrently, because even if they don't sell it to us, we've still got to do something to improve the equipment. We'll just extend the lease for another 30 years if that's what we want. But to your point, they'll probably be interested in doing something. So, it'd be good to, ask that question, but at the same time, let's get the leisure services team looking at building up a scheme and putting a budget forward to us, so that we can start to send that back to strategy and resources for the hospital. Councillor John.
Yes, I think we should definitely ask, the possibility is. My concern is that that's prime development land right in the middle of other housing. So it would fit in with, that continuation of development. And I wonder if therefore Reading Borough could afford to sell that, because obviously there are planning restrictions, but they're not always very safe. So it's just a rider to, in our discussions, to bear in mind that is a prime piece of land.
Yeah. Do we know what its designation is in the local? Presumably it's greenbelt.
It's over green playing area. Yeah, it's not. I think it's quite small. No, it doesn't. But I think it's fairly small. I don't think it's like a big area. Do you guys know roughly how big it is? Square meters?
No,
It's that-
As big as this room?
It's a lot bigger.
Is it?
Yeah.
I tried to find it, I couldn't find it.
Yeah,
And then and then someone said to me, oh, it's quite small now, and it's not big, but then I was stand corrected about people saying.
Rugby pitches.
Oh, really? That big?
Yeah.
Well, in that case,
Few houses.
yeah. Want to, honestly, the feedback from the residents. Yes, you should do that, but I wouldn't
Yeah.
do so.
Yeah, you could get a dozen houses on there easily.
Easy.
What do you need, Mike?
That space there
It's so difficult to tell how big that is.
with an entrance, big entrance, the only how you get there. So there are houses on, wouldn't you? Quite a significant chunk of land.
Okay.
Where to go and hold them.
Well, that's, if everyone's happy with that, then we'll make an approach to Reading Borough Council.
Okay, I make that approach in the first instance.
And then concurrently, we'll get you guys looking at what we can do there and give you some idea of cost for the next meeting. That's okay. All right, I think that's be good. Okay. I'll go on to item 12 then, which is the Woodford Park Leisure Centre future plans and consider the report of page 28.
The proposal here is for the council to consider setting up a working group to look at ways to enhance and maximise revenue from activities at the centre, and to look beyond what's currently offered. Ed does a basic job within the sort of confines of the building itself and the site, and we know that there are some other potential activities that could be run both within the building and the surrounding area. We've got a less used area which is not in great shape, a football changing area, for example, things like that, which can be explored. So I think the proposal on page 28 there, kind of 3/4 of the way down, probably sums it up in terms of the intention there. And I think the council needs to be looking ahead in terms of income generation and what the centre provides over the coming years. And there is a proposed terms of reference, which is the document that we circulated subsequently, which hopefully you've all got, which just sets out some tasks and how that might work in the first instance. So I think what that's likely to do is throw up some more things that need some feasibility study, which need looking at what's possible, how much it might cost, but also kind of looking at the bigger picture and not being restricted particularly in terms of what's there at the moment. Actually, there are other things that might wish to do. I know Ed's got a lot of thoughts about that and knows the centre inside out, so that working group would work very closely with Ed on having those conversations and coming up with plans for the future.
Thank you very much. Councillor Jordan.
Yes, excuse me, two things. The repurposing, we spoke earlier about the services and that Woking has said what we need is a venue. To me, that area could easily be that, but maybe more outward facing than it is, because at the moment it's access through the centre. So I'd hope, I can't be on the working group, of course, so I hope that would be taken into account. And also on page 29, where it says there's no environmental impacts, I think there could be some environmental benefits, such as extra planting, energy efficiency. So I think that ought to be noted under environmental impacts.
Thank you. I think, both those points are really good. We haven't obviously decided on tasking visits, we haven't come out with a recommendation yet. But, it's no big surprise. I think that if there's an opportunity to do something like that, and that is the recommendation, and the feedback that we get from the community and all the other things that are being considered as part of their criteria, the things we've got to work through, then, that could be included in something where we are looking at enhancing the Woodford Park leisure centre to meet those future needs. So I think it's a very exciting thing. So, Councillor Kennedy, yes.
Thank you, Chair. And with the parent committee's blessing, I'd like to put myself forward as a member of this task and finish working group. As far as the terms of reference are concerned, there's no financial considerations here at all. I would have hoped to have seen something that the working group is operating within a budget of. I don't know whether the finance strategy need to give us that budget.
Yeah, I think that the principle is that this is looking bigger than that, potentially, for being able to feedback about what type of budget the council might need to be looking at going forward, rather than restricting it to something at this point. It's a little bit chicken and egg.
Yeah. And you might think this is semantic, but I don't like the word maximise. I much prefer optimise in 5.1a and 5.3f. We are optimising our income rather than maximising it.
Everyone happy with that proposed change?
Yep.
To the terms of reference. Abhishek, please. All those against, all those abstaining. Change has been approved. Thank you very much. I've also had representations from other council members Councillor Robert Hoskins has also said he would like to be on that committee. So from Conservative side, that would be you, Mike, and you. But I also would like to be part of that group. Conservatives as well. So that's 3. Yvonne, from the Labour side, have you got anybody that you'd like to recommend? You can always
Is
come
it
back to
somebody
us.
from this particular group? or-
Ideally, yes, that's
Yeah.
sits on this committee.
I mean, he's not here, so it's a bit unfair of me, but I
Yeah.
would have put forward Kester.
Yeah.
Charles
Do you want
Brown.
to have a chat with your group to
Yeah,
find out, whether Kester or yourself
yeah,
would like to?
I don't feel I can take on any more working
No,
parties at the moment,
no,
I'm
that's
sort of
fair enough.
maximised. But, yeah,
It was very good on the allotment one.
okay,
Yes. Well, Kester.
Yes.
okay,
And it's keen.
Yeah, it's very good.
right, okay.
Okay, you should know those. That's good. Okay. Okay, now, I think there's anything else to be?
Chairman,
Yes.
may I make a suggestion? And this was probably for the working group to decide themselves, but throw it out before the first meeting. That the first meeting is held at the leisure centre,
Yeah.
and we do it on foot. And
Yes.
we actually go round, poking in cupboards, and then sit down and have a bit of a.
I always remember some years ago when we had a task and fitness group for a similar activity for the Waterford Park Leisure Centre, when we were looking at the new gym, and we could obviously the pub and the rest of it. Didn't they used to meet there?
Yes.
Yeah, so I think that's very
There's
good.
no pub there anymore, though, that's the only downside.
That's not really.
And certainly in daylight hours, if we're going to be looking at the perimeter and the other,
Yeah, yeah.
so 6:30 is too dark,
It's too dark this time of year, isn't it? Yeah. All right,
if that's possible.
yeah, I'm sure we can figure out something during the working day. Good, all right then, so, if there were no other questions. Okay, then I shall move on to item 13 then, which is the youth grant applications to consider, 2 that we have for the Food Club and the Berkshire Renegades. Erin.
I'll pass it over to Matthew, if that's okay.
Yes,
Running on that.
yes, of course. So, obviously, you're all aware of the new youth grant process which we've now set out. And it was requested that we had a scoring matrix that we would use in order to review those applications against the guidelines to see whether they meet up with the purpose of the youth grant. And also, if at any stage an application is not deemed successful, that there would be a matrix to kind of refer back to. That matrix was created and sent round to councils for comments after the last meeting, and this is what's come out of it. So, as with other grants, what I've done is you'll see on the scoring matrix there is a very brief in the top half précis of the application itself, what they've asked for, what the organisation does more generally, how many members they have, and how many young people in Woodley they will impact. And then the second half is the scoring matrix itself, which the intention is hopefully that through consensus at the meeting, those scores will be created. They're all yes/no answers. With a score of 1 for yes and 0 for no, so there's a total out of 7. And the hope is that by using that process, we'll give you a guide as to whether someone is appropriate to receive this grant or not. It's probably worthwhile remembering that if someone doesn't quite match, their grant doesn't quite match the criteria here, that we do have other grants that they can apply for. We have community grants, we also have annual grants. So it may be that whilst they might not meet the intention of this very specific grant for providing youth services, that obviously they could be directed to other grants. For councillors' information, I've provided you, as I do with annual grants, full applications, so you can see the full details. This is exactly the same process that we use for the annual grants that go via planning, that again are for higher sums of money. We don't quite do this with community grants at the moment because they only go up to £250, so it's less of an interest. So what I would recommend, if you agree, Chair, is if you can maybe follow through the questions under the scoring matrix for each application and get some consensus as to yay or nay on those, which will hopefully then give you a score and will help you to guide whether to award the grant or not.
Chair, before we go down that route, and as a new councillor, I must admit, it's a bit foreign to me doing it this way. I don't know what other councillors feel, but you know, a simple yes, no is not really how I would look at this. I'd be more interested in what their financial position is at the moment, because we've got no information as to how much these two organisations have in their banks. And it seems to me that we're asked to support two organisations where a total of 13 young people from Woodley, we're being asked to spend £5,500. I would question whether that's value for money.
I think that's a good question, Mike. I have to say that when I've done this similar exercise for other organisations where I am a trustee or I've been involved in the selection of that, we've always had some sort of background on the financial situation. Because, you know, to be honest about it, you don't want to be giving £3,000 to somebody who's got 50 grand sitting in the bank and gathering dust. They clearly are not in need of it. They have the money and the means to do it. In these two particular examples, we didn't have any financial summary or background.
They're asked to submit a copy of their
I have the
annual
information,
accounts.
so this is followed very much in line with the way it happens. It's kind of a mixture between community grants and things with annual grants. So with annual grants, they have their overall budget for the whole of the organisation. So generally, annual grants for those organisations looking for money to support the running of them as an entire organisation. These are written very much from the perspective of an organisation running a particular project and having needing a set of money to run a specific project, as opposed to kind of overall running costs. So that's why I think it wasn't included here, and obviously this form was obviously approved by, did you go to Strategy and Resources, Kevin? I'm just trying to remember. Yeah. So the form itself, I think, went through and was approved, but it is probably a valid point. What I can say is, obviously, in future we can update the form to ask for some, to include more high-level total income expenditure figures, so you have that. But I do have that information, so I can feed it into this meeting.
Okay. Councillor Horskin.
Thank you, Dan. I used to do something like this a long time ago in a previous employ, and we used to go onto the Charities Commission website, and you typed in the charities number, and it comes up with their income expenditure, who the CEO is, how many millions of pounds a year he's paid, and you could come up with that. So whether we do that as committee members, or whether Matthew does it and gives us an appraisal,
I think something like that to improve the governance.
but that can then skew. And if you then look at, I don't know, Fred Blogg's charity, you type in and they've got 5 million quid in the bank, you'll think, well, they've got £5 million in the bank. They could spend that every month on staff wages, on their grants to their people. So it can be damned if you do, damned if you don't sort of thing. Too much information might not be such a good thing. I don't know.
I do have the information here from the Charities Commission for the income expenditure up until the 31st of March 2022 for the Me Too Club. Yep, you'd like to have that?
Yes, please.
Before we do that,
Yeah, of course.
be mindful of confidentiality of data privacy.
And the Charities Commission, this information is
Public knowledge.
Okay.
So before we do that,
They have to do it every year.
we're going to be able to talk about, but we're going to be talking about this on a forum which is then available to the public. So I don't want to be before. Now this is that's fine.
And we do similar in terms of the annual grants as well, in terms of the overall sort of detailed financial information. We don't publish, but that kind of level.
And both of these organisations are looking for funding to continue doing what they've always done. It's not as if they're looking at a new initiative, which I'd be much more inclined to support than just continuing to do what they've always done.
But would they be able to continue to do what they've always done?
Well,
without
that's
it?
why we need the financial information, isn't it, really?
I think you have to take a number of things into consideration, not just that. So I think it's you have to take it around a little bit, and both of them are supporting people in Woodley. I don't know if that, I mean, these are the first two applications that we've seen, so I don't know whether 14% is an average of that you would expect, or whether we could be expecting higher than that, for example. So you've also got to weigh the fact that this is going to be a benefit for Woodley. Or is it just a little bit of window dressing?
Can I just ask, what is Team W and RD project? I haven't actually come across them. What does it stand for?
I don't know what it stands for. It's what we call this group of young people that join together. So it's just named the list.
I think, did you, is it mentioned in the detailed application?
I think so.
Back. If you remember something, it's still. This is for, so ME2 cover the inclusion of children and young people with additional needs and disabilities in the Woking and Reading borough areas.
Oh, does it stand for Woking and
Well, I did wonder if it was something to do with that. Supporting young people between the age of 5 and 19. And I think some of those activities are actually carried out in Woodley at the Chapel Hall. They do it at
Emmanuel.
No, they need to, they do go.
I would also just say, in terms of following up from Councillor Kennedy's points, that the scoring matrix is based around the guidelines that were approved. So the purpose of that first section is the overall aim of this youth grant is to provide for project structures that assist and facilitate projects that reach, engage and support young people in Woodley and provide them with better life chances. So that's the key aim. So it's included there as a yes, no answer. If you feel it doesn't, then it doesn't meet what the purpose of the grant is. If you feel it does, then you can go on to the scoring. The kind of hope from this was that it would guide you through, show you what shouldn't be given, and then show you more subjectively scoring. It might be that you want to work through that to see how it works, and in the first instance, and kind of see what comes up.
Yes, Mike.
Yeah, just a bit of clarification, really. If the committee is minded to support both things, are we able to offer reduced grant?
I don't see what we can't offer a reduced
So that
grant.
might help. I don't know. It might, if they're not doing too much for Woodley or doing 14%, or maybe they're wanting. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I think you've got to take it in the round, and you know exactly how much money, how their income is funded, for example. So some of it, one of these organisations is funded just through subscription. Another one, I think this one is just funded not through subscription, but through charity. You know, I'm sure they're applying for this here, so it does depend how they do it. Council wants to.
This is the first time we've done this. We meet 6 times a year as a committee. No, 5 times a year as a committee. We've got 30 grand to spend. So that's roughly 6 grand.
That's before next April.
6 grand per meeting, roughly.
There isn't a deadline on that earmark reserve. So whilst it's budgeted for this year, if it's not spent, any money that's not spent will still be available next year.
It's like the budget for youth services, not for the youth grant. I think you'll find
This is the youth services money, it's 30 grand, isn't it?
I thought that was 3,000 in the budget.
No, that's an amount of money that was provided for the community youth partnership. This is this year's community youth partnership budget of 3,000 plus the 27,000 for the youth services, which for this year it was agreed would go towards these grants because there would be no youth service tendered for within this financial year.
Yeah, no, I think you just answered it. So it's to come out of that budget, but because we're not spending it.
It's available.
Because last year it went back
But it
into the
doesn't
general
commit
reserve.
us to that in the future if we want to set up our own youth services.
No, it's a separate thing, and as Matt said, it doesn't have to be spent by March. It won't disappear in
Fine, okay, that's good, that's clarify that. Right.
I haven't finished.
Sorry, mate. Lots of people would not.
I know, my head, I've forgotten. So if we've got 30 grand, 6 grand roughly per meeting, first time we've done it, I think we shouldn't be too cautious. As Michael was saying, we don't have to give the whole £2,500. So I think we should, there's no definite answer, but I don't think we should be shy in giving that money should we wish to do so. But it would be useful, I don't know, to have everybody's opinion on it, I think, really.
Okay, well, I'm happy to go around. I mean, you've all read the submissions, I take it. You've all looked at the criteria. In terms of, well, we can take each one individually. So in terms of Me Too Club, what was what were the publicly disclosed numbers in terms of each one?
So the public.
I think that's the first thing of all.
Yeah. Okay. So the total income for that financial year that ended March 2022 was £254,000 income, and expenditure was 232,000, and a few pounds above that for both of those. But yeah, that's okay. I have income and expenditure figures when we do get to Berkshire Renegades, but they're not charity, so it's not publicly available information.
Okay, good. Okay, so do we want to go around the room and just people can tell what they think about this particular application? I don't mind if we just go around one at a time.
You're looking at me, you want me to go?
Well, I mean, Danny can go first, or Carol can go
I
first.
don't mind starting.
Carol, you start
Well,
first.
I'd quite like to do the two together because one of the reasons I've got, I'm comparing one with the other. So with the ME2 club, I would be in favour of that 2,500, especially because they're meeting the needs of vulnerable people, and I think that's really important. That's on the other one, that's something that scores 0 for the Berkshire Renegades. As far as I can see, they're not particularly meeting needs of vulnerable young people, but that's the only difference between them. But my other thought was that when we're asked, would we expect to be funded from other sources, they're providing American football, they tell us, for the whole of Berkshire, and yet they're asking us for all the money. So I would question the amount that we give Berkshire Renegades, but I'm in for the ME2.
Thank you, Carol.
That's all right.
I'll take you on the next one up. I think kind of similar to Carol in a way, in that I think what they do on both of them is really good. I would slightly disagree with Berkshire Renegades. I think like all team sports, it's all about character building. If nothing else really, I think that's the important thing about pulling together as a team and trying to so you can relate to other people, all the rest of it, communicate and everything else. But I think the main thing is that about Woodley children. They obviously be very high. That's really the only. That's why I asked the question I did. That about asking. We don't have to give the full 2.5 to Me Club or 3 for the Renegades. Maybe something less than that. That's just my thoughts on it.
You'd be happy to do a grant for ME2, but you're not sure whether.
I think it's the amount of it. Yeah.
Yvonne?
Yeah, just a quick question to clarify. Are the Berkshire Renegades a youth? It's a youth team. It's a youth American football team, not a adult.
They're mixed.
Yeah.
They're mixed.
Oh, it's mixed. Okay. Yeah, I mean, in terms of the Me Too and the teen club, I think that is a valuable service for vulnerable young people. And although they may not all be resident in Woodley, I mean, I work in a special school in Woodley with, a similar cohort of young people, and they're not necessarily, they go to school in Woodley, but, the catchment area is Woking and Reading, Woodley. So I think maybe sort of discriminating on the basis that they might not be in Woodley might be a bit sort of.
The way I looked at it was that they're doing what they're doing in Woodley, and there are a proportion of people that live in Woodley that use that service.
Yeah.
So for me, that ticked the box.
Yes.
And then you go on for the other criteria. That's how I look at it. But others might have different opinions.
Yeah, I would agree with you.
what would you think? What-
I'm inclined towards the Me Too Club. I think it's, I mean, it ticks quite a few boxes for me in looking at youth services for, especially for diverse, like not necessarily just like one game. I think they have some, like, I would be interested to know what actually that skills and they are going to provide, but they have a number of things which takes us, it's not necessarily are keen in playing. I think the game, the Barcelona games are, it's a good service for people who want to again really want to play game and football, but I think it doesn't take for everyone. I'm not sure if everyone into games, but yeah, it would be nice. There would be another kind of random, but I'm not sure if there is a possibility we can run for both of them. It's like maybe split half in some for 50% to them and 50%
I think we'll talk about that in a minute, but it's good to sort of like get
Yeah,
everyone's view on it before we get into that bit, I think. Mike,
But I'm really struggling with this.
either of them or?
Or both of them. Certainly, if you look at Me Too, I mean, go down this, I'm still struggling with this matrix. I mean, meet the needs of vulnerable young people, I'm happy to score that 1. But I don't think I can score tackle crime and antisocial behaviour through supporting young people at 0 for me. Assist young people in gaining employment, education, training, maybe 1 for that. Support a local organised organisation, yes, 1 for that, that's 3. But the others, I still question whether supporting 7 people in Woodley is benefiting Woodley residents. If Woodley residents is what, 18,000. I'm minded by the Act, which says that we can give grants where it supports some or all of the residents of Woodley. I think I've said this before, and I don't think 7 constitutes a sufficient number for me. And you know, if we're to score this, and I've scored maybe 3 out of 7, does that qualify for a grant? Or should it be 6 out of 7? 7 out of 7?
Just to say that was the general purpose of that matrix, to give that sort of guidance, so you have that comparison, because that is exactly in line with the guidelines. That's exactly what the guidelines have said, and it may be, as I said at the beginning, we've given Me Too Club a grant at Trash and Resources every year for the last, I don't know, definitely the last 4 years of £250 of community grant. It may be that they might be applicable, for example, for an annual grant, or they might be more appropriate for something else. It's whether you think the committee it matches this specific grant guidelines that have been approved.
Thank you, Darren. Mike's raised some very interesting points, and I say I still don't know whether it's yes or no from me. I would have said yes to £2.5 grand to Me Too. They send us newsletters every month, pretty much. They communicate a lot with us. They might only be 7 people, but those 7 people do live in Woodley, and we could give that support. But interesting with your good out 7, yeah, I'm about the same on that. Renegades, I would have said no. Prejudice, isn't it? However, they pay Woodford Park Leisure Centre £2,956 per annum. They meet there at the leisure centre. They are taking young children off the streets. They're giving them some physical exercise as opposed to playing these blasted game things. They're building team spirit. So going back to the score, you could almost put 1 on all those things. Are they meeting our vulnerable young people? Yes, they're giving them something to do in the leisure centre or in the park or wherever they're playing these games. Tackling crime, antisocial behaviour. Again, it can be taking those people away from going down those avenues. So suddenly you could end up with a much higher out of 7 score. So I would say then give them their £3,000 that they want. I'm not right. I'm not wrong. I do not know what the answer is for this. And I think we've got a little bit, not a can of worms, but I think we are floundering. I think we're struggling as a committee on this one. Hasn't helped at all, has it?
No, it's fine. I mean, my 2 pennies were, I thought both were deserving. I personally thought ME2 Club should be encouraged by giving them a grant. to maybe improve what they're currently doing with it. So I look at the fact that they're helping 7 or 8 people maybe, but actually by helping them in this way, we should be encouraging them to provide more services in Woodley. That might help us out with that. So I looked at it a little bit like that. I think for the Renegades, I looked at that and thought to myself, well, they're not, whilst they're officially a charity, they are a sporting organisation, really, association. They tick all the boxes pretty much, but actually we didn't really want to give money to running costs, but to start. So it may be that in their particular case, you know, we could look at, you know, things like new equipment, balls, tabards, goals and stuff like that and say, actually, let's look at that and then maybe give them, you know, don't give them everything they've asked for, but to give them that proportion which, you know, covers things that they would want, like, you know, equipment.
Oh, well, this is, isn't it? This is.
Is it all equipment? Because that was.
Well, it says it leaves little budget remaining for replacement equipment, footballs, flags, belts, bibs, etc. So you could read either into it, couldn't you?
Primary beneficiaries.
Can I suggest, Chair?
Go down to page 44.
44, yes, it's there, isn't it? Yeah, I remember seeing something where they broke it down.
Can I suggest, Chair, that we just simply have a show of hands, yes or no, for each one?
Yes, we can do.
And
I
just do
think,
it
I'd do it like that.
as a winning score, as it were.
Yeah.
Because I think because I don't know. You know,
All right. Karen.
Could I make a further proposal that we give the same amount to each one, which is 2,500? If I got a second.
yeah, I'm happy to second Carol's suggestion there, that we make it £2.5 grand for each
one.
Yeah.
Can I have, we've had a second, can I have a show of hands to approve that proposal, please? Thank you. That's approved. Okay, so I'll take Eddie to.
Can I have my vote recorded as against the proposal, please?
Yes, we'll do that. Yeah, we'll record those votes. All those in favour of ME2 receiving a £2,500 grant, raise their hands. You can record that. Keep your hands up just for a minute, because actually these two are your names. All those against? All those abstaining? That motion is carried. Please record that. I will then come on to the second one, which is for the Renegades American Football. All those in favour of awarding them a £2,500, please raise their hands. All those against? All those abstaining?
Sorry, I can come to my conscience, sorry.
That means we have 2 for, which means it's carried.
So that is carried. Okay, fine. Thank you for a lively discussion and for probably a little bit of feedback in terms of how we score this in the future and maybe a bit more information. So,
I think, Chair, that's really shown our electorate, that's the right word, our constituents, that we've had a really thorough discussion, disagreements, agreements, we've moved some goalposts, we've changed things about, and I think as a committee we've come up with the right responses.
it feels right to me because we've had a good discussion about it and I've allowed everyone to talk about it. I think it's important. This is the first time we've done it like this, so we're all feeling our way a little bit. So hopefully this will set the standard for the next round that comes through. We'll be a little bit more certain. Again, a little bit more.
Could I just draw the committee's attention to the criteria and the reason why I voted against? Groups, organisations where Woodley residents are the primary beneficiaries of the group organisation's activity. In my view, 6 and 7 is not considered primary beneficiaries. Woodley residents are not the primary beneficiaries, and that's why I voted against.
That's fine. Thank you. Good. Right then, let me just go on to the rest of the agenda.
Sorry, on the way out. Right then, I should move on to the next agenda item, item 14, which is to note an updated report from the Friends of Woodford Park on page 34. Robert, you have anything you'd like to
I spoke to David and emailed him a couple of times recently, and I'm meeting him next Tuesday up here to see what's going on. But no, nothing further to add. The only other thing that's got on here about the e-scooters, I noticed that have we had a reply back from our people that we wrote to about e-scooters?
We didn't ask for a reply from them. We raised it as a concern with MPs, Theresa May and Matt Rodder, and asked them to raise it in Parliament.
Yeah, because the police have done quite a lot recently, I've noticed on that. And the only other thing was the bit about the footpath through the middle here. Have we got any more progress on that?
And the funding was approved by Strategy Resources. They don't have a date when that work will be carried out at the moment, but I will bring that back to the next meeting. And a solid part, by the way, that was what the council results do reinforced ground matting across to retain grass.
Councillor.
Yes, at the last meeting, I think we realised that we didn't have a proper sort of communication with the group, and Rob's now going to be part of that. But I feel we've got a report here, but nothing else. So if we just look at items 4, 5 and 6 on page 34, something needs to be discussed. And I would have thought, as this is a report to this meeting, we would have discussed what we're going to do about that. Obviously that's not happening, but I wonder if we ought to develop a mechanism by which it does, so we don't just receive the report noted and then it's filed, that we're actually going to do something. Now, whether it's Rob comes back with the report and recommendations, but what I don't want to see is that we lose these possible actions when we've asked for information and we're not doing anything about it at the moment.
That's a good point, Karen. I think it's up to this committee to read the appendix 14 on page 34 and just like see if there's any actions that we feel that would arise from that. I mean, Robbie, you'll be our representative, of course, so
To be agreed.
to be agreed, of course,
yeah.
but hopefully endorsed and approved.
Well, we could do. We can do what Carol's saying now, aren't we? Because we're going through it, and there's no reason why we can't, as a committee, as a group, just agree those ways forward now. And so we mentioned, obviously, we need the December committee for me to be formally the link, as it were. We've mentioned the path, and Kevin's given a response of when that's going to be done. Scooters, we've mentioned that. And cycling. Oh, the only other thing about the cycling was the sign on the corner of the building here is up there. I don't know any cyclists that cycle along looking up in the air. So maybe we need to look at some lower down signage on those bits.
Does it say no cycling?
It does, but it's right up there.
Yeah.
Right up there.
You'll never see it, yeah.
No.
Maybe that could be repositioned then.
Dismount, I think it says is the word. I think it says dismount, yeah. Funny enough, we were sat in the room doing interviews, and the amount of scooters that were going backwards or forwards on this path here was amazing. It's really quite scary how many of them are about. The Garden of Remembrance, item 5. I'm not sure what he's saying on here. Comment that while the Garden of Remembrance has benefited from long overdue attention to the woodland planters this year, saw no colourful planting. In the past, the council has always had a display in the partners that were removed from by the gate.
Yeah, I think-
Maintained but not planted.
Yeah, well, not quite. I think the planters that were replaced with the large ones, which have largely shrubs, so they were the large ones set back into the garden. But there used to be some smaller ones near the front entrance, which were planted up. with flowers, which didn't happen this year. I know there's a plan for that, but again, I can report something back a bit more solidly to the next meeting.
Thank you, Kevin. Item 6 has got disappointed to see a few plaques have been added this year. It seemed helpful to both residents and the council if this highly rated facility was published more. I feel, so I'm just sort of picking this up as I'm going along here. I think what I might do is have a word with David, and if he's agreeable, that he and we put forward a proposal, a report to the council. Carol, sorry.
Oh, I didn't want to interrupt.
No, look, if you've got your hand there, it's interrupting, so please.
So I didn't see Councillor Carol.
With those all the plaques, that could come under number 16 when we talk about publicity and websites. So I think we could deal with that now, but obviously talking about it would be useful. There are no colour, again, that would be a discussion with David, but I do think we need to improve our signage. Or we need to mention, you see at Woking District Borough put up signs saying, please cycle in a considerate manner, because we are cyclists who dismount round this corner, but it's not stopping them cycling through the park. Quite rightly, I think we should encourage cycling where we can. But I think there needs to be more, and we need to state very, very clearly on all of our entrances about the use of e-scooters, so that nobody's left in any doubt. And if those signs are there, if anybody is brave enough to have a shout at the scooterers, then they can say, look, it says there that you're not allowed. So I think a discussion is fine, but I think those signs could be actioned by.
Need to consult with police as well.
Well, we can ask, as a council, we can write to the police and say, please, can you do a PCSO thing? Because they were going to do it, I can't remember where I was reading it. They were going to do it in the precinct, and this whole article is all about the precinct. Well, it's not really that much of a problem in the precinct as it is. We have more of a problem in the park.
In the park, yeah.
But I can't remember where I read it. But we could ask.
I can ask them, and also, Green Flag, I mean, they obviously certify our park and have input into it every year when they come to inspect it. Is this something that they've had experience of, and do they have any? So I think it's thinking a little bit about that, see if we can speak to a number of people, because there might be some solutions that we don't know about.
That's the thing I'm going to go chair with some of the councils.
As well. Yeah, okay, well, let's do that then. And then let's come back with a little half-page report as to whatever it is, as to what some of the actions we can take to make it safer in the park.
So I've just read here, the group continues to receive park-related comments from the public, some of which are noted below. So 1 to 6 are actually comments that they've had from public. It's not necessarily the friends of Woodford Park.
That's how I read it. It was comments that they've received.
Yeah. So I completely missed that. So
yeah, they're going to continue to get those comments as well because they're visible.
Yeah.
So I think that we can stop that, but it's great that they put it back. They put it back in their little reports.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Sorry, I missed that part. Sorry.
Thank you.
Would you like me to formally respond to David's report by collating those points that we've made and say that that's the outcome? He obviously may very well have watched the meeting or watched it to read the minutes, but I can do a formal response from the committee.
Yeah, I think that would show care and consideration. Yes, please.
Yeah. Well, okay. Agenda. Okay, then we'll go on to item 15, future agenda items for consideration. Does anyone have anything? Yes, Mike.
Can I ask, Kevin, whether the community notice boards around the town, does that fall within this committee's remit?
Yes.
And can we have community notice boards on the agenda, because they are in an awful state of disrepair, having used them only this week. They're falling apart, they're very, very badly worn, and something needs to be done about it.
We have got, Strategic Resources did allocate some funding towards that capital programme for replacement. So it is in the process of something happening with them because of the.
Do we know how many we've got dotted around now? I always thought it was about 5 or 6.
Yeah.
They're on the website.
They are on the website, are they listed?
Their locations
Okay,
are on the
good.
website.
Okay, any, and then lastly, item 16, publicity and website. We've already had a suggestion from Karen, so we'll do that. Anything else that you'd like to do? Great. All right, then, well, that I think concludes our meeting, and on declare it closed at 9:25. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for a great meeting.